Hey, everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us.
Yeah.
Today, we're tackling something
Oh.
that I think is on a lot of people's minds,
Yeah.
especially as we get a little older, and that's Alzheimer's disease.
Right.
So if you've ever, been worried about forgetting things or if it runs in your family, this is going to be a really important deep dive for you.
Absolutely.
We've got a ton of great research. We've got some insights from the NIH and even some personal stories to kind of help us break down this really complex disease.
Yeah,
so
it's a big one.
It is a big one. And thankfully, to help me navigate all of this, I've got an expert in the field joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Glad to be here.
So to kick things off, one of the articles that we got really caught my eye.
Okay.
It mentioned that back in 2015, which now feels like a really long time ago, a staggering 4 to 5 million adults in the U.S. were already dealing with dementia.
Wow.
Costing over $200 billion.
Yeah, that number is unfortunately only going up.
Right.
The longer we live, the more those cases are going to increase. And that's why I think it's so important that we understand this disease, how it progresses, and what we can do about it.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that I struggle with is, where do you draw the line between just normal forgetfulness and something more serious?
Well, that's the thing, is it's not black and white. It's kind of a spectrum.
Okay.
So, on one end, you've got what we consider like normal age-related decline. We all experience that. You know, we misplace our keys, forget appointments.
Right.
And then you move into what's called mild cognitive impairment.
Okay.
So the memory and thinking issues, they become more noticeable.
Yeah.
But people can usually still adapt and maintain their independence.
Okay, so forgetting where you parked versus forgetting how to get home.
Exactly.
Got it.
And then at the other end of the spectrum is what we call Alzheimer's type dementia. And this is where that independent function is significantly impaired, and that's where Alzheimer's disease is often the culprit.
And here's the thing that really got me, is that the research suggests that the damage might actually start years, even decades, before any noticeable symptoms.
It's kind of scary.
It is.
Like a thief in the night. It sneaks up on you.
Yeah.
And the brain is so good at compensating that you don't even realize that this is happening.
Wow. So it seems like prevention and catching things early is just so crucial.
Absolutely.
So can't we actually prevent it? What's the question everybody wants to know?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. I think we all want that silver bullet solution. Yeah. But unfortunately, as of right now, there isn't one.
Okay.
But there is some promising research out there.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that at least there's some promise.
Yeah.
One of the reports we got from the National Academies highlighted 3 interventions that have encouraging but inconclusive evidence.
Right.
What exactly does that mean for somebody like me?
Encouraging but inconclusive basically means that while studies have shown some positive links between these interventions and a potential reduction in Alzheimer's risk, we don't have that definitive evidence yet to say for sure that they're going to prevent it.
So there's hope, but we need more research.
Exactly. Yeah. But the good news is that these activities are good for your overall health anyway.
Right.
So it's like a win-win.
Yeah.
You're doing something good for you regardless.
Makes sense. Okay, so tell me more about these interventions. What's the first one?
The first one is cognitive training.
Okay.
And the goal of cognitive training is to challenge your brain and enhance those cognitive skills like problem solving, memory processing speed.
So is that all those brain training games and apps?
So while those can be fun, the research suggests they may not have a significant impact on preventing actual cognitive decline.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not quite as simple as that.
No, it's not just doing Sudoku or playing brain games on your phone.
Got it. So what kind of cognitive training are we talking about then?
So think of it as a more holistic interactive approach.
Okay.
Engaging in activities that challenge your brain in diverse ways.
Okay.
Like learning a new language, taking a class that requires critical thinking.
So not just memorizing facts or doing quick mental math problems.
Right. It's about actively engaging different parts of your brain, keeping it stimulated.
I like that. Keep it stimulated. Okay, so what's the second intervention?
The second area is managing high blood pressure.
Okay.
Especially as we age.
Right. High blood pressure can lead to all sorts of problems.
Exactly. And research has shown that managing hypertension, particularly starting in middle age, can actually play a role in potentially reducing dementia risk later.
So don't wait till you're 70 to start taking it seriously.
Exactly. Early intervention is key.
Okay, I like that early intervention.
It's like tending a garden. The earlier you address potential issues, the healthier your garden will be.
Great analogy.
Thanks.
So we've got cognitive training, blood pressure management. What's the third one?
The third one is increasing physical activity.
Okay, here we go.
Here's the fun one.
I've always heard that exercise is good for the brain, but does it actually have a connection to preventing Alzheimer's?
Well, studies have shown that engaging in regular physical activity, even something as simple as increasing your walking, can lead to measurable changes in the brain.
Really?
And even improve cognitive function.
Wow, so even if it's not a guaranteed shield against Alzheimer's, it's still a really powerful tool for overall brain health.
Exactly. It's about creating a healthy environment for your brain to thrive.
Okay, I'm definitely feeling inspired to get moving more. Now, there's another big piece of the puzzle we need to address, and that's genetics.
Yes.
What role do genes play in all of this?
Well, this is something a lot of people worry about, especially if they have a family history.
Right. I think a lot of people, if their parent had it, they think, am I destined to get this too?
Yeah, and that's a valid concern.
Yeah.
But it's important to understand that in most cases, Alzheimer's isn't caused by a single gene, but by a complex interplay of multiple genetic variations that can influence your overall risk.
So more of a predisposition than a certainty.
Exactly. There are rare cases where a specific gene variant can directly cause the disease.
Okay.
But those are much less common.
That's a little bit reassuring.
Yeah.
So even if you have a family history, it doesn't automatically mean you're going to develop Alzheimer's.
Right. And here's where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
Lifestyle choices can actually impact how your genes express themselves.
Wait, really? You mean things like exercise and what we eat can influence our genes?
Absolutely. Lifestyle factors play a significant role in influencing gene activity either positively or negatively.
Wow, so we're not just at the mercy of our genes.
Yeah.
We have some control over how they impact our health.
Exactly. You have the power to make choices that support your brain health.
I love that. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the spectrum of cognitive decline, the promising but inconclusive interventions, and the complex world of genetics. Where do we go from here?
Well, research is always evolving.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to stay updated.
Okay.
There's new developments happening all the time.
That's good.
So there's always hope for more effective prevention and treatment strategies.
So what does the future hold? What are researchers focusing on now?
Well, one exciting area is the development of tools to predict the progression of the disease.
Okay.
Imagine using brain scans and protein analysis to forecast an individual's likelihood of developing Alzheimer's.
That would be incredible. How far off is that kind of technology?
It's definitely still in development.
Yeah.
There's hurdles to overcome.
Right.
One limitation with the current research is that studies often have short follow-up periods, and they don't always represent diverse populations.
Right. So longer-term studies that reflect a broader range of people and lifestyles are needed.
Absolutely. And this is where I think community-based research becomes so crucial.
Okay.
You know, engaging with diverse groups of people helps us understand how these interventions work in the real world.
Right. For everybody.
For everyone.
That makes sense. So while we wait for those breakthroughs, what can we do right now to protect our brains?
Yeah.
And potentially reduce our risk?
That is the question.
It is the question.
That's what we should all be thinking about, no matter our age or family history.
Absolutely. All right. I think that's a great place to pause for a moment. We're going to dive into some practical steps you can take right now to prioritize your brain health when we come back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. All right. So before the break, we were talking about those steps that we can take right now to help protect our brains.
Yes.
So where do we even begin?
Well, a great place to start is by revisiting those three key areas we discussed earlier.
Okay.
Cognitive training.
Managing blood pressure and getting that body moving.
Those sound familiar. So it's not just about preventing Alzheimer's. It's about just taking care of our overall health.
Exactly.
Two birds, one stone.
Okay. It's a holistic approach to well-being.
I like it. Okay, so let's break those down one by one.
Sure.
First up, cognitive training. You mentioned it's more than just brain games.
Right.
What are some concrete examples of how we can really challenge our brains?
Think about activities that engage different cognitive skills simultaneously.
Right.
So learning a new language is fantastic.
Okay.
It challenges your memory, problem-solving abilities, and even your social skills if you practice with others.
That's a good one. Maybe it's time I dust off that Spanish textbook I've had for years.
There you go. Or consider taking a class in something that sparks your interest.
Yeah.
Photography, creative writing, learning to play a musical instrument.
I love that it's not about forcing yourself to do like mental gymnastics. It's about finding something that's stimulating and enjoyable.
Exactly.
That naturally engages your mind.
And never underestimate the power of social interaction.
Okay.
Meaningful conversations, joining a book club, volunteering.
Right.
All these things provide valuable cognitive stimulation and keep those social gears turning.
Those are all great ideas.
Okay.
So let's move on to managing blood pressure.
Okay.
What really jumped out at me from the research was how sneaky high blood pressure can be.
Oh, yeah.
It's often called like a silent killer because people might not even realize they have it.
Exactly. That's why regular checkups are so important.
Right.
Especially as we get older, monitoring that blood pressure is essential.
And even if your blood pressure is in a healthy range right now, what can we do to help keep it that way?
Well, it's all about those healthy habits we hear so much about.
Right.
Balanced diet.
Okay.
Limiting salt intake. Regular exercise. Finding healthy ways to manage stress.
Those are all things we should be doing anyway.
Exactly.
For our overall well-being, it's good to know they're specifically helpful for blood pressure.
Yeah, they go hand in hand.
Okay, let's tackle the third area, physical activity.
Okay.
I think this is where some people might hit a roadblock.
Yeah.
They hear exercise, and they think they need to suddenly become marathon runners.
Right, or gym rats.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's not the case at all.
The reality is any increase in physical activity can have benefits. Right?
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be this huge dramatic change.
It's about finding something you enjoy and can realistically incorporate into your routine.
Right.
Walking, dancing, gardening, swimming, they all count.
And even little tweaks to our daily habits can make a difference, like taking the stairs instead of the elevator.
Yes.
Or parking further away from the store when we go shopping.
Exactly. Those little things add up.
And the benefits go way beyond just brain health.
Right.
You know, exercise improves mood, boosts energy levels, strengthens your heart and bones.
It's a win-win.
It's a win all around. So we've got cognitive training, blood pressure management, and physical activity. What other lifestyle factors should be on our radar?
Well, diet plays a big role.
Yeah. I always heard that diet's so important for brain health.
Absolutely. What we fuel our bodies with has a direct impact on our brains as well.
So you've probably heard of the Mediterranean diet.
Yes.
And its connection to cognitive function.
It's a popular one for a reason.
What is it about that diet that makes it so good for our brains?
It's rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, olive oil, fish.
Okay.
All these components are packed with antioxidants and healthy fats, which have been linked to numerous cognitive benefits.
Makes sense. So loading up on those good-for-you foods.
Yes.
And limiting the processed foods, sugary drinks, unhealthy fats.
Exactly. Another factor that often gets overlooked is sleep.
Sleep.
Yeah, we all know how foggy our brains feel when we're sleep deprived.
Oh, yeah?
But consistent lack of sleep can have more serious implications for brain health in the long run.
I've definitely experienced that brain fog. How much sleep should we be aiming for to keep our brains happy?
Most adults need around 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep per night. It allows our brains to clear out toxins, consolidate memories, almost like hitting the reset button.
I like that reset button.
Yeah.
I'm making a note to prioritize sleep. Okay, what about stress? I know chronic stress can be really detrimental to our mental well-being.
Yeah.
But how does it impact our brain health specifically?
Chronic stress is like a constant state of fight or flight for our brains.
Okay.
And over time, that can have some pretty negative consequences for cognitive function.
Got it.
So finding healthy ways to manage stress is key.
So things like exercise, meditation, spending time in nature, all those stress-relieving activities are actually doing double duty for our brains as well.
Exactly. It's all connected.
I love that. Okay, now I know a lot of people listening might be especially concerned if they have a family history of Alzheimer's.
Right.
Is there anything specific they should be doing?
Well, while we can't change our genes, understanding our family history can empower us to be more proactive.
Okay.
So those same lifestyle factors we've been talking about, they become even more crucial for those with a genetic predisposition.
Okay, so double down on those brain-boosting activities.
Exactly. It's like turning up the volume on those healthy habits.
I like that. Make those doctor's appointments and don't be afraid to ask for personalized advice.
Absolutely. And remember, research is constantly advancing. So stay informed about new developments and don't hesitate to reach out to your healthcare provider for guidance.
They can help you assess your risk and recommend appropriate screenings.
Exactly.
This has been so incredibly helpful. Before we wrap up, is there one key takeaway you want listeners to really remember?
Here's the most important thing to keep in mind. While there's no guaranteed way to prevent Alzheimer's, We have more power than we think to influence our brain health.
I love that it's not about living in fear. It's about taking control and making informed choices.
Exactly. By adopting those healthy lifestyle habits and staying informed, we can take proactive steps to protect our brains and potentially reduce our risk.
All right, we're going to pause there for another quick break. When we return, our expert will leave us with one final thought-provoking question to ponder. Stay tuned. And we're back. I'm really eager to hear that thought-provoking question you have for us.
All right, so here it is. What's one small change you can make today to prioritize your brain health?
I love that it really highlights that we don't need to make these drastic changes overnight.
Right.
Small steps done consistently can make a huge difference.
Exactly. It can be something as simple as taking a daily walk, learning a new word each day, or even just swapping out that sugary drink for a glass of water.
And like you said, those small changes often snowball into bigger, healthier habits over time.
Absolutely. Progress over perfection.
Well said. This has been such an incredibly insightful deep dive, and I really hope our listeners feel empowered to take charge of their brain health.
Me too. Knowledge is power, and the more we understand about Alzheimer's and cognitive decline, the better equipped we are to make informed decisions about our health.
Absolutely. And for those who want to delve even deeper into this topic, where can they go for reliable information?
The NIH website is a fantastic resource. They have so much information on Alzheimer's prevention strategies, ongoing research.
That's great.
It's definitely worth checking out.
Awesome. And of course, always consult with your healthcare provider for personalized advice and guidance.
Absolutely.
They can help assess your individual risk factors, recommend appropriate screenings or lifestyle changes that are tailored to you.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you so much for sharing your time and your expertise with us today. It's been a true pleasure.
The pleasure was all mine. Thank you for having me.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Alzheimer's. Remember, while there might not be all the answers yet, there is hope, and there are steps we can take to protect our brains and live longer, healthier, and more fulfilling lives. Until next time, stay curious.